It's been a long time coming, but it's here. Godzilla vs. Kong has arrived, not only in theaters, but also on HBO Max. You can watch it either way. It is out right now. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Godzilla vs. Kong, a movie that I've been waiting for quite some time. It is a follow up to the 2014 Godzilla film, the Kong Skull Island movie, and of course, King of the Monsters. This, of course, tells the tale of the confrontation and the meeting between Godzilla and Kong, who is bigger than ever. So, when it comes to doing a movie review, I think it's important to understand the target audience of the movie and to understand what people will like this film and who will not, okay? If you're expecting Godzilla vs. Kong to have some kind of really deep plot with very interesting characters, layers and things like that, and thought-provoking stuff, you probably should not be watching a movie called Godzilla vs. Kong, all right? But with that being said, surprisingly enough, there are some things in this movie that are thought-provoking. Not so much with the characters, because the characters themselves are not that interesting, the human characters that is, and that's fine because that's not why we see these movies. Godzilla and Kong as the two alpha species of the Earth are very interesting characters, and the humans, they do try to make them interesting. And the good thing is that unlike the 2014 Godzilla movie that spent way too much time developing characters that we just didn't care about and spent way too much time just going very, very slow. I'm not a big fan of that film at all. I like the fight between Godzilla and the Mutos, but it just took too long to get to the point and wasted my time. Whereas with this movie, I think they did try to get the human characters over with us, but it wasn't, they weren't the focus of the film. The focus of the film was the build up to the confrontation between Godzilla and Kong. And Godzilla and Kong as characters, I think, are interesting, like I said. The humans, they tried, but really, the movie is not that paper thin, though, because there are some concepts and ideas here that are explored. Like, if you're into conspiracies and things like that, if you're into sort of, what's really going on with the Earth and where do these creatures come from, obviously they're not real, but if you're into cryptozoology and things like that, there are some things in this movie to love, but that's not why you're here. You're here to see the battle between Godzilla versus Kong. And let me tell you something right now. I'm not going to go into spoilers in this video. I'll be doing a spoiler review in a couple days, probably this Saturday on the channel. So come back on Saturday for a spoiler review, but I'm going to give you my thoughts. I'll tell you this. If you thought that the final battle in Man of Steel was over the top, let me tell you that the final battles in this film, the last 30 minutes or so of this movie are just complete pandemonium. Just complete pandemonium. If you thought there was a lot of destruction in Man of Steel, and I compare it to Man of Steel because it really is that over-the-top CGI, just explosions and destruction beyond anything we've seen in film. I mean, I can't say beyond anything, but it really, to me, it's beyond anything, honestly. I mean, we've seen Godzilla and Kong do battles in other films. Not just that, but even the original Godzilla vs. King Kong, which this movie was better than that one, in my opinion. We've seen lots of chaos. This took it to a new level, man. It was just, like I said, pandemonium is the best way to describe it. Destruction beyond anything. In Man of Steel, we saw Metropolis get wasted. In this movie, yeah, cities get torn down, in this battle with Godzilla, Kong, and what happens at the end, which I'm not going to spoil. But there are a lot of weird things about this film as far as story and plot goes that I really didn't understand. There are some character motivations that I do understand that are kind of, in a way, stereotypical and predictable. You kind of know what these characters are in some cases. You got the corporations doing greedy things. You've got the good guys who are conflicted. You've got the greedy characters and the good ones. And, it's fine. But if you are looking for a movie that's just going to be tons of chaos and just a great battle, because one thing I will tell you is the battles in this movie are definitely good. Are they totally CGI, just complete computer graphics? Yes. Do the monsters look real? No, not really. You can tell it's CGI, but it's still a fun fight to watch. The fights are fun to watch. The destruction's fun to watch. If you're trying to just go to see a movie where you can forget about your troubles and just kind of go into this suspension of disbelief, this movie will satisfy you to a degree. And also, as far as the plot goes, there's two different plots going on. There's two different sort of, trajectories going on with the Godzilla and Kong story. They're kind of separate until they all kind of converge at the end of the film. And, in that way, it does make sense. I will say that it's not. Did I like the movie? Yeah, I liked it. It was a little tiny bit disappointing, though. Like, I felt like King of the Monsters was more satisfying, and I think that Kong Skull Island was probably the best story. This one was kind of like, it was, the fights were fun. Like I said, the fights were definitely a good time, but I think they could have done more with what they set up. They could have done more with the plot. I think, even though it's not a movie you see for plot, they could have still done more. There were things that they kind of had ideas about that I think could have been explored more. But again, that's not why we're here. We're here for the big final fight, and it's definitely a spectacle. I mean, it needs to be seen on the biggest screen you could possibly see it on. Obviously, HBO Max is one way to see it, but it was definitely a movie that big Dolby IMAX is the way to go. You know what I mean? It's definitely the way to go. But like I said, I have some questions about some of the events that occurred after King of the Monsters, but before this one. They kind of allude to some things that happened, but other things I'm a little confused about. Not because I think they're necessarily plot holes, but just I want to know more about certain aspects of where Kong has been, where, what has been going on with Godzilla. I understand some of it, but there wasn't that much clarity. You know what I mean? This movie's also the shortest one of all of them, so it does not drag on like Godzilla 2014 does. It gets to the point. It's under 2 hours, which I was very happy about, because way too many movies now try to do that 2:30, 3-hour mark. And, unless you have good pacing like Zack Snyder's Justice League, it's just not going to hold up. It'll bore you. But this movie definitely did not bore me, and it does a pretty good job of doing what it's supposed to do. I mean, the movie's very self-aware. The movie knows it's wacky. The characters, even the human ones, are very over the top. The technology and the things that we see are very over the top. Like, it knows what it is, and it's perfectly fine being what it is. It's not trying to be a deeper Godzilla. It's not trying to show too much depth, although there is some there. Don't get me wrong, there is some there. But I think it is a movie that should be seen by Godzilla fans without question. It's better than the previous Godzilla vs. King Kong movie. Way better. Kong, by the end of the movie, I actually cared about Kong. And I cared about Godzilla. Like, I cared about these characters. I cared about these fictional, computer-generated characters more than I did the humans, actually. And that's kind of cool. It's like Paddington. Paddington made me care about that CGI bear more than, not more than the humans in that movie, because I love all the characters. But, in this movie, you care about them more than you think you do. You know what I mean? But overall, it's a fun time. I can't sit here and say that it's the best, most riveting film ever. It's just not. I mean, it's a movie that you can go see once in the theater and maybe buy on 4K, and that's pretty much it. But it is entertaining, and the final fight is completely bonkers, yo. So really, you're seeing this movie for the final fight, and you could, I hate to say this, yo, but I'm going to be real with you. You could even fast forward to like the last 45 minutes of the film and just watch that. I mean, the plot isn't even that interesting. Just get to that last fight and see how crazy it is, if that's really what you want to see. But overall, the movie's not boring. So that's my non-spoiler review for this film. I'll be going into spoilers more so in my spoiler review coming up this weekend. And I'll go into some plot details, because there are surprises in this movie that obviously you want to, there are leaks and things like that, but there are some surprises that you want to avoid. But because of HBO Max being so accessible, there will be high quality images of all this stuff online within the next 24 hours. So if you're going to go see the movie, go get a ticket now, stay off the web, or just get it on HBO Max, because it'll be everywhere, dude. You cannot avoid this stuff on the internet anymore, especially with streaming services. There's no hiding images anymore. They're all going to be out there, and the imagery in this movie is a visual spectacle, not just because of the fights, but because there's actual aesthetic things like visuals that look crazy in this movie. Very eye-opening, very eye-popping, and it is meant to be seen on the biggest TV you can see it on. So try to do that. Thanks again. What did you think about the movie? If you saw it, let me know down below, and I'll talk to you all soon this weekend for the spoiler review, and of course, Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3, I think it would be, coming up tomorrow. So look forward to that. We'll talk soon.